The following program is rated TV MAL. It contains strong language and is intended only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion advised.
So when you're busy prioritizing the most essential things in your day-to-day routine,
I was downstairs sitting in front of the computer masturbating.
it just dawned on me, for the red cherry, the winter's coming up, and I'm told that it's going to be very vicious and violent. I mean, not so much as the snow, but we're going to get a lot of bitch slaps from Canada with the polar vortexes. And I don't know about you, but the weather is kind of, well, it is getting to be that time of the year, so we got to get prepared for it. So if you haven't quite noticed, because I rolled the fucking thing out of the garage, it's getting the carbon blowing out of its top end with some ATV fluid. It does the job. I'll get more involved with that a little bit later. You know, just like a whole list here. I just got to check mark off, you know, top to bottom, you know, get that all sorted out. So I just blast a bunch of ATF down its throat and out through its asshole. And I'm going to do the coolant to make sure that's good for -40, because Minnesota winters are no fucking joke. Now the thing with ATF is, it's meant for your transmission, automatic transmission fluid. Or alcohol, tobacco, and firearms if you want to be cute. But basically ATF is like a detergent. It acts like a detergent. It cleans shit the longer it sits in one place. So just dumping ATF down, not the carburetor, which you could, but I just did the intake port with a vacuum line. Just let it sip on it and just, you know, rev the piss out of it for, I don't know, 10-15 minutes. Yeah, you know, this car's been doing a lot of city driving idling, so I want to blow some carbon out. ATF does a good job of that. It's good to do that every once in a while. You know, it's Uncle Bucking it in it. You know, the more I dig into this heap, the more wrong things I find with it. I've been dicking around with this fucking thing like that for a year. You do the whole screwdriver, go this way, and go the other way. I don't know. My guess is a pin must have slipped out, because this isn't really broken. A pin held it in and just vibrated out and it just came out. So I gotta take the steering wheel off, which I rented. Yeah, that took 2 seconds. This is just a dust cover. They don't do anything. Just gotta pry it loose. Now that the cover is removed, we gotta remove that C-clip to hold this down. When that's off, we can get the innards and hopefully on the side. So get that C-clip out. Hopefully one of those old dental picks will work. Yeah, you kind of need a compression tool just to get that in there. It's spring loaded. Get the tension off that little C-clip to remove it all. Kind of a pain in the ass, but more steps needed to take it off. That's out of the way. Now we can get into the meat of it now. So I fished the part out. Now this shaft goes in like this. Imagine all one piece. That metal pin right there is slid out. When that slid out, this thing came loose. And then that came loose from that, so it just all fell apart. Hence it's dangling, so you gotta slide that back in there and put a little bit of JB Weld, not a lot, just a little dab. And that'll be it. I'll put it all back together. We're getting to the fine watch territory here, because that's what it feels like, working on the intricacy of the steering column. It's like you're building one of those fine Swiss watches. You gotta... This plastic piece can only go on a certain way, like a key slot. Only one way, and you're limited on room, so I had to make the square just a little bit bigger. And you're gonna drop that pin in with just a micro amount of JB Weld, just enough. And just tap it down and put everything back together. Now, if I had a mechanic guy do this, he'd probably want 300 bucks. Doesn't seem like a big job, but it's very intricate, tightly compact, and you gotta work with like a whole bunch of tools. So I saved myself some money. So let's finish this shit up and keep going on with the list. Check that off the list. Fuck. You know, it should be your ass that needs one thing to wipe, not a windshield. So let's get that fixed and made to be the way it's supposed to be. We have dual wiper function. Because this just ain't cutting it. You just pull the tab to expose the splines and just match one side for the other. There. Well, I guess we gotta add one more thing to the list. I gotta flush out the cooling system. Because when it looks like, I don't know, when you eat a whole bunch of macaroni and cheese and you add a lot of butter to it, and 2.5 days later your stomach feels hot, and you have to, your asshole feels a little wet and you have to run to the bathroom and out it fucking comes. And it looks like Campbell's soup, you know, vegetable beef broth. If your coolant ever looks like that, it's time to flush it out. You know, if it's anything like my blue Oldsmobile. Well, let's flush it out before it gets to that point. Because, you know, that's just not good. But we're just going to dump all this out or siphon all this out, whatever's in the radiator. When that's emptied out, fill it back up with distilled water and some of this. Bottle says use the whole thing, but I'm going to cut it half and half and flush it out twice just to get the most out of it. I got like 6 gallons of distilled water shit. So that's where we're at right now. So we're going to empty out the contents of the radiator and just keep cycling through so we get some familiarity again in this system. But it's not blue Oldsmobile territory yet because I can still use my heater core. And I will flush that out too once I'm done with all this. Second bucket. Don't mind the debris floating in there. I didn't clean it out. I was kind of lazy that way. On the upside, it's basically siphoning itself now. A few pumps and now it's doing the rest itself. But it's a lot cleaner. I mean, it's still diarrhea brown, but it's a more clear shade of diarrhea brown. Well, this is just going to eat up 1 gallon right off the bat. For those that don't really understand water and why you want to use it for flushing your coolant, in the sense of distilled water versus whatever you get out of your fucking tap, distilled water is basically pure in the sense there's no mineral contaminants into it. You don't want that inside your motor because it basically can contaminate the inside of your engine, if you can believe that type of shit nonsense. Basically, if you run well water or tap water, you can cause more corrosion that way. Whereas it's distilled, it's just basically mineral-free water, so it's not going to cause any deposits or contamination or corrosion. It's what you want to use when you flush out a motor, not when you want to keep around. In fact, people in the desert, they don't really use coolant that often. They just use water, and the inside of their motors just rot well, not rot, but corrode the fuck out. It just looks like chocolate milk on the inside. I just turned the car off about 5 minutes ago. Still over 200 degrees. I don't want to fucking wait. Yeah, it was fucking hot. Nothing but water in there at this point. I'm gonna start siphoning off, this round, see how clean it is, and start adding antifreeze back into it. See how clean this looks. It's in siphoning mode now. That's what we want to see. Took a few tries and a few gallons later, but that's clean as you can make it. But when that, empties it all out, I'm going to fill the radiator back up with coolant. And then, cycle it through and then measure the strength, and that'll be it. And then the other crap I got to do. Let's see what the strength is on this coolant now. I cycled it around. Let's get a reading on it. I got one of these little fuckers. 1 ball equals 20 degrees, 2 is 5, 3 is 10, 4 is 25, and 5 is negative 40. So it goes in that order. See what the fuck it does. How many balls are we playing with today? Oh, we got 1. 2's kind of floating. Oh, it's going up. Wants to rise. I would have to deduce that this thing is good to around 5 degrees above zero. So we gotta siphon some more out and add some more concentrate till that more balls float. So that's what we're gonna do. It's an easy concept to understand. And I just happen to have some concentrate right there. The green shit. Actually, I wasn't really paying attention. I was more focused on the strength, but the color. I kind of want a uniform color because coolant comes in a rainbow of assortments. I prefer a traditional green, and this is, pretty watered down, so slight color tinge, but they come in yellow, they come in orange, they come in blue, red probably. I just want simple green. And that's the green shit right there, so let's go mix that in, but we gotta siphon this radiator out and pour more in and just cycle it through and keep doing this so this fucking shit evens out. Well, I'm going to inspect some of the spark plugs here. Got one of the easiest ones so far. Got it loose. See what it looks like. Inspect it. It looks pretty good to me. And it's an AC Delco as well. I never fucked with these plugs since I've owned the car. I ran pretty good since day one, but it doesn't hurt to inspect them and see how things are progressing. I need some contrast here. Good enough. It's got that familiar tan. That tan colored. That's what you want. It's clean. No buildup. And the gap looks good. The threads look fine. It does smell, doesn't seem off. Took a quick whiff of it. Yeah, I'd say this spark plug's doing alright. And the thing with V8s is they're pretty consistent. Well, you know, not that it couldn't happen, but generally one plug will look like the rest. Where like inline sixes, their intakes are basically, if you could pretend my fingers are in like an inline six intake, like the middle finger ones are close to the carburetor, the outer ones travel longer to get to the motor. So you get inconsistency, like the outer plugs will look more foul than the inner ones because the fuel's got to travel longer. Where compared to the inner ones, they look more clean, they travel shorter. But the intake on a V8, it's dead center, so it's kind of symmetrical that way. You know, V8s typically will give you a symmetrical reading on spark plugs, but the reading, not like you can't get one or two fouled where the other ones look clean. It's just usually they give you some reliability, so basically one will look like the rest, usually on a V8. I just took out the one on the other side underneath the compressor. I gotta get some contrast here again. It looks just like the other one, I told you. You'll get some consistency with V8s, just because the carburetor is centered in between all the spark plugs. So the air-fuel mixture travels about the same length from cylinder 1 through 8. Not 100%, but you know, pretty damn close. Not like an inline 6, for example. Relatively the same for condition and quality. Heat range looks fine. I know it's kind of blurry, but heat range looks acceptable. I just, not only did I alphabeticalized it, I also numbered it by the cylinder, so each plug wire will say A whatever number next to it, or B whatever number next to it, like this, F7, D6, etc. Then I took a picture of it. That way you can't miss. Let's inspect it now. Made in China. Figures. Oh, these don't look that bad. I mean, we got that white fuzz crud in there. This was probably replaced not too long before I owned it. Probably the last owner touched this. They would have to, because these colored zip ties, they're not factory. It looks alright. I'll get that off there. It looks good. I mean, I suspected this was not going to be any problem just because this looked like it was touched. And how the car runs and everything, so whoever had this before gave it a proper tune-up on their time, so I'm just verifying things on my end here. You have to do this every now and then just to make sure things ain't getting bad. So that checks out. I mean, this doesn't look that old even. A couple of years maybe, if that. So, check that off.
Feeling of pride,